My name is Rachel Montgomery, and I need to tell you about the night that should have been the beginning of my forever, but turned out to be the moment everything I believed in died. I'm 29 years old, a pediatric nurse at Charleston Medical Center, the kind of woman who double-checks medication dosages 3 times and never misses a Sunday service at Mother Emanuel AME Church. My mama raised me to be careful, to be thorough, to trust my instincts. She used to say, "Baby girl, your gut knows things your heart doesn't want to believe." I wish I'd listened to her more closely. 3 years ago, I met Derek Williams during a late-night shift in the pediatric ICU. A 6-year-old boy had come in with a ruptured appendix, and Derek was the surgeon on call. I watched him work with hands so steady they could have been guided by something divine. After the surgery, he found me in the break room at 3 a.m., both of us exhausted, both of us running on coffee and adrenaline. He smiled at me, and I felt something shift in my chest, something warm and certain. "You were incredible in there," he said, his voice soft but sure. "That boy's alive because you caught what everyone else missed." I should have paid attention to how easily the compliments came. How smoothly he knew exactly what to say. Derek was everything I thought I wanted. 32 years old, a pediatric surgeon with a reputation for saving the cases other doctors gave up on. He came from money, old Columbia family money, the kind that builds hospital wings and has streets named after them. But he never made me feel small for coming from West Ashley, where my daddy drove a city bus for 30 years and my mama cleaned houses to put me through nursing school. Or maybe he did, and I just didn't want to see it. Our courtship was a whirlwind of stolen moments between shifts, late-night dinners at 82 Queen, weekend trips to Kiowa Island. He introduced me to his parents exactly twice. Both times, his mother, Patricia Williams, looked at me like I was something tracked in on the bottom of her shoe. His father barely spoke, just nodded and returned to his newspaper. Derek always had an excuse for their coldness. "They're just old-fashioned," he'd say, kissing my forehead. "They'll warm up once we're married." I believed him because I wanted to. Because when you work 60-hour weeks saving children's lives, you want to believe that goodness exists, that love is real, that a man who saves babies for a living must have a pure heart. My best friend Candace tried to warn me. We'd been nurses together since our first clinical rotation at MUSC, and she knew me better than anyone. 2 months before the wedding, she pulled me aside in the hospital cafeteria, her dark eyes serious in a way that made my stomach tighten. "Rachel, I love you like a sister," she said, stirring her coffee without drinking it. "But something about Derek doesn't sit right with me. The way he's always on his phone, the way he disappears for whole weekends and calls them conferences. Have you ever actually verified any of that?" I laughed it off. Told her she was being overprotective. Told her that Derek's career demanded travel, that surgeons had complicated schedules, that she was reading too much into normal behavior. "Girl, my intuition has never steered me wrong," she said, reaching across the table to grab my hand. "And right now, it's screaming." I pulled my hand away, angry that she couldn't just be happy for me. I didn't speak to her for a week. She apologized first, like she always did, and agreed to be my maid of honor. But I saw the worry that never left her eyes, even when she smiled. The wedding was set for October, when Charleston's suffocating heat finally breaks and the air smells like salt and possibility. We chose Magnolia Plantation because Derek insisted on it, said his family had connections there, could get us a discount. I didn't question why a family with their kind of money needed discounts. I was too busy being grateful, too busy playing the role of the blessed bride. 200 guests. A sunset ceremony. Everything perfect, everything wrong, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to that morning, October 14th, the day I married a man I didn't know at all. I couldn't sleep. The Grand Oak Hotel's honeymoon suite was beautiful, all cream-colored linens and antique furniture that probably cost more than my car. But beauty doesn't keep you warm when you're lying alone in a king-sized bed on your wedding night, staring at the ceiling, wondering where your husband went. Derek had disappeared into the second bedroom 2 hours ago. "Just need to handle this emergency," he'd said, his phone pressed to his ear, his face tight with something I couldn't read. "Go ahead and get ready for bed." I'll be there soon. Soon never came till I'd changed into the white silk nightgown I'd saved 3 months of paychecks to buy. I'd lit the candles Candace had secretly packed in my overnight bag. I'd waited, watching the door, my heart doing that stupid hopeful thing it does when you're desperately trying to believe everything's fine. The bedside clock read 1:47 a.m. when I finally accepted he wasn't coming back. My nursing training kicked in first, the way it always does when my emotions threaten to overwhelm me. Maybe there really was an emergency. Maybe a patient had taken a turn. Maybe I was being selfish, expecting romance when children's lives were at stake. I'd married a surgeon. This was the life I'd chosen, but my mama's voice whispered louder, "Baby girl, your gut knows things your heart doesn't want to believe," and my gut was screaming. At exactly 2 a.m., the antique clock on the mantel chimed, each bell stroke loud enough to make me flinch. The sound seemed to echo through the suite, announcing the death of something I couldn't yet name. I pulled the covers up to my chin, suddenly cold despite the room's warmth, and that's when I heard it, crying, not the soft sniffling of someone trying to hold it together. Deep, gut-wrenching sobs. The kind that come from a place so broken you can't hide it anymore. The kind I'd heard in hospital waiting rooms when parents receive news no parent should ever hear, but this wasn't a hospital. This was my wedding night. The crying was coming from Derek's room. I sat up slowly, my medical brain already trying to rationalize the sound. Maybe he was on a call with a grieving family. Maybe he was watching something on his laptop. Maybe, but then I heard the second voice. A woman's voice, soft and shaking. "You promised you'd tell her before the wedding, Derek. You promised." My blood went cold. I threw back the covers, my bare feet hitting the plush carpet without a sound. Every instinct told me to stay in bed, to pretend I hadn't heard anything, to protect the fragile fantasy I'd built around this man. But I've spent my entire career walking toward the things that scare me, and I couldn't stop now. The hallway between our rooms felt longer than it should have been. Each step brought me closer to a truth I didn't want to know. The hotel's heating system hummed quietly. Somewhere outside, a car alarm went off, then stopped. Normal sounds. The world continuing as if mine wasn't about to end. I reached Derek's door and pressed my ear against the wood. The woman was still talking, her voice muffled but distinct. "She deserves to know. They all deserve to know. They all." My hand found the doorknob before my brain could stop it. I turned it slowly, half expecting it to be locked. It wasn't. The door swung open, and I saw them. Derek stood in the middle of the room, his tuxedo shirt unbuttoned and hanging loose, his face drained of all color. But it wasn't him I was looking at. It was the woman sitting on the edge of his bed, holding a baby. A baby. She looked up at me, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. She was beautiful in that exhausted, hollowed-out way that new mothers sometimes are. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair pulled back in a messy bun. And on her left hand, catching the lamplight, a wedding ring, not an engagement ring. A wedding band. Plain gold. Worn smooth, just like the one Derek had slipped on my finger 8 hours ago. "Rachel," Derek said, and his voice cracked on my name. "Rachel," I can explain, but I wasn't looking at him anymore. I was looking at the baby, who couldn't have been more than a few months old, sleeping peacefully against the woman's chest. The baby was wearing a onesie with little ducks on it, and one tiny fist was curled near its mouth. The woman stood up slowly, adjusting the baby with the practiced ease of someone who'd done it 1,000 times. When she spoke, her voice was steady, almost gentle. "I'm Rebecca," she said. "Derek's wife." The word hung in the air like smoke from a fire you can't put out. "Ex-wife," Derek said quickly, desperately. "She's my ex-wife. We've been divorced for 6 months. I was going to tell you, I swear, but we were never divorced, Derek." Rebecca's voice cut through his lies like a scalpel through skin. Clean. Precise. Deadly. "The papers you showed Rachel? The ones you showed me when you said you were finally free? All fake. I only found out about your wedding 2 weeks ago when I saw the announcement in the Post and Courier. My knees felt weak. I reached for the doorframe to steady myself, my fingers gripping the wood hard enough to hurt. "You're lying," I heard myself say, but my voice sounded far away, like it belonged to someone else. "You have to be lying." Rebecca shifted the baby to her other hip, and that's when I saw it clearly. The ring on her finger. The way she held that child. The exhaustion in her eyes that came from months of sleepless nights and broken promises. I wish I was, she said, and I believed her. This is Lily, Derek's daughter. She was born 7 months ago. March 15th, to be exact. 7 months. My brain did the math automatically, the way it does when calculating medication dosages. 7 months ago was March. Derek and I had been together for 3 years. Which meant he'd been with both of us. The entire time, every late-night emergency. Every weekend conference. Every time he couldn't answer his phone because he was in surgery. He'd been living 2 lives. 2 families. 2 wives who didn't know about each other. Rachel, please. Derek moved toward me, his hands outstretched like I was a scared patient he needed to calm down. Let me explain. It's complicated. I was going to tell you after the wedding, I just needed time to what? My voice came out stronger than I felt. Time to figure out which family you wanted to keep? Time to decide which wife was worth keeping around. It's not like that. But his face said otherwise. His face said he'd been caught, and now he was scrambling for any lie that might save him. Rebecca walked closer to me, the baby still sleeping against her chest. This close, I could smell Derek's cologne on her clothes, mixed with the sweet, powdery scent of baby lotion. My stomach turned. There's something else you need to know, Rebecca said, her eyes meeting mine with a kind of terrible compassion. Something I only found out 2 days ago when I started digging into Derek's past. Rebecca, don't. Derek's voice was sharp now, commanding. The voice he probably used in the operating room when he needed people to obey without question, but Rebecca ignored him. She looked at me, and I saw something in her expression that made my chest tighten with a fear I couldn't name yet. You're not his wife, Rachel, she said quietly. You're the other woman. And I need you to understand something that took me weeks to accept. She paused, took a breath, adjusted the baby in her arms. You're not the first other woman. And you're not the second. The room tilted. You're the third. The words echoed in my head like a diagnosis I didn't want to accept. Third wife. Third family. Third woman foolish enough to believe Derek Williams was capable of love. Derek's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. He looked between Rebecca and me like a defendant watching the jury return with a guilty verdict. His hands shook. Good. Let him shake. Rachel, listen to me. His voice cracked. This isn't what it looks like. Rebecca and I, we had problems. We separated. The divorce was supposed to be final, but there were complications with the paperwork. I was going to fix it after we got back from the honeymoon. I swear, Rebecca laughed, but there was no humor in it. Just exhaustion. The kind that settles into your bones after months of carrying lies that aren't yours to carry. You're still doing it, she said, adjusting baby Lily who stirred slightly against her chest. Still lying even when the truth is standing right in front of you. I'm not. There is no divorce, Derek. Rebecca's voice was quiet but firm. There never was. You forged documents to show me when I got suspicious. You forged different documents to show Rachel when she asked about your past. You're good at forgery. Almost as good as you are at juggling multiple lives. I watched him deflate, his shoulders sagging like a building losing its foundation. He didn't even try to defend himself anymore. Just stood there, caught, exposed, pathetic. I need to go, he said suddenly. I need to think. You need to run, I said, finding my voice. That's what you're good at, isn't it? Running before anyone can pin you down. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something flicker across his face. Guilt, maybe. Or just frustration that his carefully constructed world was collapsing. Either way, I didn't care anymore. Don't leave this hotel, Rebecca said. You owe us more than that. But he was already moving, grabbing his phone, his wallet, his keys. He didn't look back as he walked out the door, leaving me standing there in my wedding night silk nightgown, barefoot and betrayed, with a woman I'd never met and a baby who shouldn't exist. The door clicked shut, silence filled the room like water filling a sinking ship. Rebecca spoke first. I'm sorry. I know this isn't how you wanted your wedding night to go. Almost laughed. Almost. How did you know? About tonight? I've been following him for 3 weeks. She walked to the bed and sat down carefully, supporting Lily's head with practiced ease. After I found the wedding announcement, I hired a private investigator. Not a fancy one. Just a retired cop who does work on the side. He confirmed everything I'd been afraid to admit to myself. I stayed by the door, my back against the wall, needing something solid to hold me up. How long have you been married? 5 years. We met in Columbia when he was finishing his residency at Palmetto Health. I was a teacher at an elementary school near the hospital. He was charming, attentive, everything I thought I wanted. She smiled sadly. Sound familiar? It did. God help me, it did. Sit down, Rebecca said, gesturing to the chair near the bed. Please. I know you're in shock, but there's more you need to know, and you should probably be sitting for it. I crossed the room on numb legs and sank into the chair. The hotel's air conditioning hummed quietly. Lily made a small sound in her sleep, and Rebecca automatically patted her back. The gesture was so natural, so maternal, that something in my chest cracked open. There's a first wife, Rebecca said. Her name is Natasha. She lives in Atlanta. Derek married her during medical school at Emory, 9 years ago. She doesn't know about me. She doesn't know about you. As far as she knows, Derek travels for work and comes home to her every few weeks. My mouth felt dry. How is that even possible? He's a surgeon. His schedule is already complicated, already unpredictable. He uses that. Tells each of us he's at conferences, covering shifts at other hospitals, consulting on difficult cases. We believe him because why wouldn't we? He saves children's lives. Surely a man like that wouldn't lie about something so basic as where he sleeps at night. Rebecca reached into the diaper bag at her feet and pulled out a manila folder. She opened it, and I saw papers, photographs, printed text messages. His parents know, she said, handing me a photo. That's Derek with his mother at Lily's baptism 6 months ago. She held this baby, Rachel. She smiled for pictures. She knew he had another wedding scheduled, and she said nothing. The photo showed Patricia Williams, Derek's cold, stoic mother, holding Lily in a white christening gown. She was smiling. Actually smiling. More warmth in that picture than I'd ever seen from her in person. They enable it, Rebecca continued. His father's money funds all of it. Multiple households, multiple lives. Derek's medical career is stellar, makes the family look good, so they protect him. They've been protecting him for years. She handed me more papers. Bank statements showing regular transfers to 3 different accounts. Screenshots of text messages Derek sent to Rebecca during my wedding ceremony, thinking of you and Lily. Love you both, thinking of her while saying vows to me. Dr. Mitchell knows too, Rebecca said. Derek's best man. He's covered for Derek at the hospital more times than I can count. Vouched for him when questions came up about his schedule. They've been friends since medical school. He knows about all of us. I stared at the evidence spread across my lap. 3 years of my life, reduced to bank statements and lies. Why now? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Why tell me tonight? Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. Because you can still annul this. Your marriage isn't even 12 hours old. If you act fast, you can erase it like it never happened. But me? She looked down at Lily. I have a daughter with him. My family knows we're married. They've been pressuring me to stay quiet, to work it out, to think about the baby. They say divorce is shameful, that I should try harder to keep my husband happy. That's insane. That's family. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. But I couldn't let him do this to another woman. I couldn't watch him marry you, start a new life, collect another family, while I sat at home pretending everything was fine. You deserve to know. Before it was too late to escape cleanly, the word escape hit me hard. That's what this was. An escape plan presented by a woman who couldn't escape herself. What about Natasha? I asked. Does she know you're here? Rebecca shook her head. I haven't contacted her yet. I wanted to tell you first, make sure you were safe. But she deserves to know too. They both do. All of us do. I looked at the evidence again. Photos of Derek at Rebecca's family Christmas dinner while he told me he was covering holiday shifts. Text exchanges where he called her my love and my wife on the same days he'd been planning our wedding. Bank statements showing he'd helped furnish Rebecca's home while telling me he was saving for our future. Every piece of my relationship had been a lie. The hospital transferred him here on purpose, Rebecca said, her voice hardening. Medical University Hospital knew about the situation in Columbia. Not all of it, but enough to want him gone. So they offered him a position in Charleston, called it a career opportunity, and everyone pretended it was normal. A fresh start. New city, new family, same old pattern. They just let him go? Knowing what he was doing, they're protecting their reputation. A scandal like this would destroy them. Easier to move him along and pretend it never happened. Rebecca's jaw tightened. I tried reporting it to the medical board, but Derek's father has connections. The complaint disappeared. That's when I knew I was on my own. We sat in silence for a moment, two women bound together by the lies of one man. Finally, Rebecca spoke again. I came here tonight because I needed you to see the truth before you wasted years figuring it out like I did. Before you had children with him. Before you built a whole life you'd have to dismantle piece by piece. She looked at me directly. You can still walk away clean, Rachel. I can't. But you can. I thought about my wedding dress hanging in the closet of the master bedroom. Thought about the 200 guests who'd watched me say vows that meant nothing. Thought about Derek's face when he promised to love me forever, when forever apparently meant until the next family needs attention. What do we do now? I asked. Rebecca smiled for the first time since I'd walked into this room. Now? We stop protecting him. We tell the truth. All of it. To everyone who needs to hear it. She reached across the space between us and took my hand. Her grip was strong, certain, the grip of someone who'd already decided to burn down the lies even if she got burned too. Are you with me? She asked. I squeezed back. I'm with you. I called Candace at 3:07 am. She answered on the second ring, her voice thick with sleep. Rachel? What's wrong? Everything. My voice broke on the word. Can you come to the Grand Oak Hotel? I need you. I'm already getting dressed. That's what 20 years of friendship looks like. No questions. No hesitation. Just immediate action. While we waited, Rebecca fed Lily a bottle, the baby's tiny hands curling around her mother's fingers. I sat on the floor with my back against the bed, still in my silk nightgown, surrounded by evidence of my husband's betrayal. Former husband. Whatever he was now. Does your family know you're here? I asked Rebecca. She nodded, her eyes on Lily. My mama told me not to come. Said I was going to embarrass myself and the baby, that I should handle this privately, keep it in the family. But I couldn't. She looked at me. Some things are bigger than family shame. Some things need daylight. Candace arrived 43 minutes later, still wearing her house slippers, her natural hair wrapped in a silk scarf. She took one look at me on the floor, at Rebecca with the baby, at the papers scattered everywhere, and her face went hard. Tell me, she said. So we did. Every detail. Every lie. Every forged document. Rebecca and I took turns, our voices overlapping, filling in the gaps in each other's stories. Candace listened without interrupting, her jaw getting tighter with each revelation. When we finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, We're going to destroy him. Candace, no. She held up her hand. I tried to warn you. I knew something was wrong. And now look. She gestured at the evidence. This man has been playing all of you like it's a game. Like your lives don't matter. Like you're just collectibles he can shelf when he's bored and come back to when he needs something. She pulled out her phone. I'm documenting everything. Every paper, every photo, every text message. We're building a case. Rebecca shifted Lily to her shoulder. A case for what? The police won't do anything. I already tried, not just the police. Candace started taking photos of the bank statements, the hospital board, the medical licensing board, the post and courier. Every wedding guest who needs to know what kind of man they celebrated today. She looked at me. Unless you want to keep this quiet, did I? Part of me wanted to crawl into bed and pretend this was a nightmare I'd wake up from. Part of me wanted to protect the dream I'd built, even though the dream was rotting from the inside out, but a bigger part of me, the part that had worked 3 jobs to get through nursing school, the part that had held dying children's hands and told their parents the truth even when the truth destroyed them, that part knew what had to be done. I know, I said. We tell everyone. The hotel room door opened. Derek stood there, and he wasn't alone. His parents flanked him like bodyguards, Patricia Williams in a silk robe that probably cost more than my car, his father in pressed slacks and a button-down shirt despite the hour. They looked like they'd been expecting this. Like they'd done this before. Rachel, honey. Patricia's voice dripped with false warmth. Let's all calm down and discuss this like adults. Don't call me honey. I stood up, suddenly aware I was still in my nightgown, barefoot, disheveled. But I didn't feel small. I felt volcanic. You knew. You've known the whole time. Known what? Derek's father, Robert Williams, stepped into the room. That our son has made some mistakes? That he's struggling to balance a demanding career with personal relationships? Yes, we knew. We've been trying to help him manage the situation. Candace's voice was ice. That's what you call bigamy? Marriage fraud? Lying to 3 different women? Robert's eyes flicked to Candace, then dismissed her. He focused on me instead. Miss Montgomery, I understand you're upset. Wedding nights are emotional, and discovering your husband has complicated ties to his past can be shocking. But let's not blow this out of proportion. Rebecca stood up, still holding Lily. I'm his wife. She's his wife. How is that proportion? Patricia finally looked at Rebecca, and her expression turned cold. You should leave. This is between our son and his bride. I'm his bride too, Rebecca said quietly. Or did you forget my wedding? The one you attended? The one where you gave a toast about how proud you were that Derek had finally found someone worthy of the Williams name. Patricia's face flushed, but she recovered quickly. That was different. Derek was young, confused. He since realized that he could have multiple families and you'd cover for him? I finished. Is that what he realized? Robert pulled out his checkbook. Actually pulled out a checkbook like we were in some 1950s movie. Miss Montgomery, let's be practical. You're a nurse. I'm sure your salary is modest. What would you say to $50,000 to walk away quietly? We'll handle the annulment paperwork, no mess, no public scandal. The number hung in the air. $50,000 would pay off my student loans. Would let me breathe for the first time in years, but it would also make me complicit in Derek's lies. Put your checkbook away, I said. I'm not for sale, everyone has a price. Robert's voice hardened. 100,000. Final offer. Take it and sign a non-disclosure agreement, or we'll make sure your nursing career ends before breakfast. We have lawyers. We have connections. We can make your life very difficult. Are you threatening me? My voice came out steady, calm, the way it does when I'm about to place a difficult or deliver bad news to a family. In front of witnesses? With a clear attempt at bribery on record, Candace held up her phone. Every word. Video and audio. Please, keep going. Robert's face went purple. Patricia grabbed her husband's arm, but he shook her off. You have no idea who you're dealing with, he said. The Williams family built half of Charleston's medical infrastructure. We can destroy your reputation with one phone call. We can make sure no hospital in South Carolina ever hires you again, then do it. I stepped closer to him, close enough to smell his expensive cologne. Make your phone calls. Use your connections. But know this: I'm going to the medical board. I'm going to the hospital administration. I'm going to every news outlet that will listen. And I'm going to tell them exactly what your son has been doing, and exactly how you've been helping him do it. Derek finally spoke. Rachel, please. Think about what you're doing. This will hurt everyone. Career, your career, Rebecca's family, the baby. Don't you dare use that baby as a shield. Rebecca's voice shook with rage. You brought her into this world while lying to her mother. You held her while texting another woman. You are not the victim here, Derek. Patricia turned to her son. Derek, fix this. Now. But Derek just stood there, trapped, helpless, watching his carefully constructed world collapse. I have Natasha's phone number, Rebecca said suddenly. She pulled out her phone. Atlanta area code. She answers on weekends. Should I call her right now? Let her know her husband of 9 years is currently at a hotel with his 2 other wives? You wouldn't. Derek's voice was barely a whisper. Try me. Candace walked to the hotel phone on the nightstand. Or I could call hotel security. Pretty sure they'd be interested to know about the fraud happening in their honeymoon suite. Wait. It was Patricia who spoke, her composure finally cracking. Just wait. Let's all take a breath. This is getting out of hand. MIT's been out of hand, I said. For years. You've just been good at hiding it. Someone knocked on the door. We all froze. The knock came again, firmer this time. Hotel management. We've received a noise complaint. Candace opened the door. A black woman in her 60s stood there, wearing a hotel uniform with a name tag that read Dorothy, night manager. Her eyes swept the room, taking in all of us, landing on Derek with a look I couldn't quite read. Dr. Williams, she said. I should have known. Derek's face went white. Dorothy, I can explain. No need. Dorothy stepped into the room uninvited, closing the door behind her. I've been managing this hotel for 32 years. I know a pattern when I see one. She looked at me, then at Rebecca. You're not the first woman I've seen confronting him here. Won't be the last unless somebody stops him. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Dorothy crossed her arms. 3 years ago, different woman, same suite, same 2 a.m. confrontation. Before that, 5 years ago. Each time, he checks in for a wedding night. Each time, another woman shows up, there's crying, and by morning, everyone's gone. I reported it to corporate twice. Nothing happened. Williams' family donations keep this place running. Rebecca's hands tightened on Lily. You've seen this before? Seen it. Documented it. Security footage from each incident is still in our archives. Corporate wouldn't touch it, but I kept copies. Dorothy looked at Derek with disgust. Some people don't deserve the power they're given. Robert stepped forward. Ms. Dorothy, I'm sure we can come to an arrangement. I don't take bribes, Mr. Williams. And I don't cover for predators. She pulled out her own phone. I've already called the police. Figured if I was getting fired tonight, might as well do it right. The room exploded into chaos. Patricia started shouting about lawsuits. Robert grabbed Derek's arm, trying to pull him toward the door. Derek stood frozen, his career crumbling in real time, but Dorothy just stood there, calm, certain, blocking the exit. You ladies want to press charges, she said, not as a question. I got evidence that'll help. Years of it. I looked at Rebecca. Rebecca looked at Candace. Candace looked at me. We nodded. Then let's make sure, Dorothy said. This man never does this to anyone else. The police didn't arrest Derek that night. They took statements, documented evidence, told us to file formal complaints in the morning. But Derek knew what was coming. I saw it in his face as the officers questioned him, the recognition that his game was over. By dawn, the hotel suite had transformed into a war room. Dorothy brought coffee and pastries from the hotel kitchen, ignoring corporate policy about feeding guests for free. Y'all need strength for what's ahead, she said, setting down the tray. Rebecca had changed Lily's diaper on the bed, the baby finally awake and surprisingly calm despite the chaos. Candace sat cross-legged on the floor with her laptop, already drafting emails to the medical board. And I stood by the window, watching Charleston wake up, wondering how the city could look so normal when my entire world had shattered. We need to call Natasha, Rebecca said quietly. Before This, I checked my phone. 6:47 a.m., it's early on a Sunday. She might not answer. She'll answer. Rebecca's voice was certain. If Derek's pattern holds, he always calls his wives on Sunday mornings. Makes them feel special. She'll be expecting him. Candace set up her laptop for a video call. Rebecca dialed the number she'd gotten from the private investigator. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She was beautiful, younger than both Rebecca and me, with short natural hair and warm brown eyes. Behind her, I could see a modern kitchen, sunlight streaming through windows. Hello? Natasha's voice was cautious. Who is this? My name is Rebecca Williams, Rebecca said. I'm married to Derek Williams. I'm calling because you need to know something about your husband. Natasha's face changed instantly, confusion shifting to alarm. What are you talking about? What kind of joke is this? It's not a joke. I moved into the camera's view. My name is Rachel Montgomery. I married Derek yesterday in Charleston. And we just found out he's been married to both of us, and to you, simultaneously. And Natasha laughed, but it was the kind of laugh that comes right before tears. That's impossible. Derek and I have been married for 9 years. We're expecting our second child. She placed a hand on her stomach, and I saw the swell of pregnancy beneath her robe. Rebecca's face crumpled. You're pregnant? 5 months. Natasha's smile was automatic, protective. Then reality caught up with her brain. Wait. What do you mean you married him? Derek is in Charleston for a medical conference. He texted me last night. He's coming home tomorrow. He's not at a conference, I said gently. He's here. At the Grand Oak Hotel, where we spent our wedding night. Discovering he's been lying to all of us. For a long moment, Natasha just stared at the screen. Then she stood up abruptly, the camera angle tilting as she grabbed the laptop. Prove it. Prove you're not just some crazy people trying to scam me. Rebecca held up her marriage certificate. I held up mine. Candace pulled up photos from my wedding yesterday. Derek in his tuxedo, me in my white dress, both of us smiling like fools. Natasha's breathing got faster. No. No, this can't be real. Derek wouldn't. We have a daughter together. We're building a house. We just signed the papers last month for. She stopped. Her face went white. What? Rebecca asked. Last month, Derek asked me to co-sign on a business loan. Said it was for expanding his private practice. $50,000. Natasha's voice shook. I signed because I trust him. Because he's my husband. Because we're supposed to be partners. Rebecca and I exchanged looks. The loan. The money. How many times had he done this? How many financial crimes had we all unknowingly participated in? I need to see him, Natasha said. Right now. Give me the hotel address. Natasha, you're pregnant. Maybe you should. Give me the address. Dorothy, who'd been listening quietly, spoke up. Ma'am, I'm the hotel night manager. If you're coming here, I'll make sure security lets you through. But I need to warn you, this is going to be hard. Harder than anything you've faced. My husband has apparently been living multiple lives for years, Natasha said, her voice steel-wrapped in velvet. Hard is relative. She hung up. Rebecca looked at me. She's coming. Good, Candace said from her laptop. We need everyone together for what comes next. While we waited for Natasha, I called my sister from church, Lorraine Phillips, who happened to be one of Charleston's best family law attorneys. She answered on the first ring despite the early hour. Rachel? Girl, shouldn't you be on your honeymoon? I need a lawyer, Lorraine. It's urgent. Her voice changed immediately. Tell me. I gave her the short version. She was silent for so long I thought the call had dropped. Lorraine? I'm here. I'm just processing the fact that Derek Williams is apparently running a one-man bigamy operation. She took a breath. Okay. Don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. I'll be there in 45 minutes with annulment papers and a list of every legal violation he's committed. This man is done. Next, Candace filed formal complaints with the South Carolina Medical Board, documenting Derek's pattern of fraud, his forged credentials that Rebecca had uncovered, his use of medical emergencies as cover for maintaining multiple families. Each complaint was detailed, damning, backed by evidence that couldn't be dismissed. Dorothy provided security footage from previous confrontations at the hotel. 3 other women over the past 8 years, all in similar situations, all bought off or scared into silence by the Williams family money. This man is a predator, Dorothy said, burning the footage onto drives for each of us. And everyone who helped him needs to face consequences too. By 9 a.m., Natasha arrived. She walked into that hotel suite 7 months pregnant, her face a mask of controlled fury, and without a word, she sat down with Rebecca and me and listened to everything. When we finished, she said one thing: let's burn his life to the ground. We decided to go to Medical University Hospital together, all 3 wives, united. Lorraine came with us, along with Candace and Dorothy. 6 women walking into that hospital administration office with evidence that couldn't be ignored. The hospital administrator, Dr. Helen Crawford, tried to shut us down immediately. This is a personal matter. It has nothing to do with Dr. Williams's professional conduct. That he forged credentials, Lorraine said, sliding documents across the desk. He lied about his marital status on employment applications. He used hospital resources to facilitate fraud. And according to these records from Palmetto Health in Columbia, you knew about problems there before you hired him. You didn't conduct due diligence. You just moved him along and hoped the problems would disappear. Dr. Crawford's face went gray. We're filing a lawsuit, Lorraine continued, against Derek Williams for fraud, bigamy, and emotional distress. And against this hospital for negligent hiring practices and creating an environment that enabled his behavior. We also have media coverage scheduled, Candace added. The Post and Courier is running a full investigation, protecting the women's identities, but exposing everything else. Within 3 days, Derek was arrested. Bigamy charges in South Carolina and Georgia. Fraud charges related to forged documents. His medical license was suspended pending investigation. His parents' lawyer tried to spin it as a mental health crisis, but the evidence was overwhelming. The Williams family's social standing crumbled. Their church community, the same community that had celebrated Derek's wedding to me just days earlier, publicly denounced them. Patricia and Robert Williams resigned from multiple boards. Their donations were returned. The Post and Courier's investigation revealed Derek had been doing this since medical school. At least 6 women over 15 years. Some had signed non-disclosure agreements. Some had been paid off. All had been traumatized, but now they were talking. And the truth, finally, was louder than the lies. Standing in that hospital administrator's office, surrounded by women who'd been betrayed but refused to stay silent, I felt something shift inside me. Not happiness. Not even satisfaction, just the quiet certainty that justice, when it comes, doesn't always heal you, but it does remind you that you were never the problem. 6 months after my wedding night, I stood in the break room at Charleston Medical Center, pouring coffee into the same chipped mug I'd used for 5 years. The hospital felt different now. Or maybe I was the one who'd changed. Rachel, you have a minute? Dr. Helen Crawford, the hospital administrator, stood in the doorway. After everything that happened with Derek, she'd been replaced, but the new administration had asked me to stay on as a patient advocate, a newly created position focused on identifying and preventing abuse in medical relationships. Of course, she handed me a file. New hire. Cardiac surgeon. I need you to review his background check and interview him. Make sure we're not repeating past mistakes. I took the file. This was my job now. Protecting people. Speaking up. Trusting my instincts instead of silencing them. Every Thursday night, we met at Rebecca's apartment. The sister circle, we called it. Rebecca, Natasha, Candace, and me. Sometimes Dorothy joined us when her hotel shifts allowed. We'd share a meal, watch Lily play, and talk about the things we were learning as we rebuilt our lives from Derek's wreckage. Rebecca was thriving. She'd gone back to teaching, found a good therapist, started dating again slowly, carefully, but with hope. Lily called me Auntie Rachel now, and my heart swelled every time she reached for me with her tiny hands. Natasha had given birth 3 months ago to a baby boy she named Justice. We were all there, Rebecca, Candace, Dorothy, and me, holding her hands, coaching her through contractions, celebrating when Justice took his first breath. Natasha's first daughter had flown in from college, and watching her meet her baby brother surrounded by women who loved her mama was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever witnessed. We were a family. Not the family any of us had planned, but the family we'd chosen. The family that showed up. The family that believed each other. Dorothy became a local hero after the Post and Courier story broke. Other hotels contacted her for training on identifying patterns of abuse. She spoke at community centers, churches, women's groups. 32 years I watched and said nothing, she told audiences. Never again. We all have a responsibility to speak up when we see something wrong. Late one night, sitting on Rebecca's couch with Lily asleep in my arms, Natasha asked me, "Do you think you'll ever get married again?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. Maybe, I said finally. But not because I need someone to complete me. Not because I'm afraid of being alone. If I get married again, it'll be because I found someone who respects that I'm already whole. Rebecca nodded. That's the difference, isn't it? We were all looking for someone to love us. Now we know we have to love ourselves first, and trust ourselves, Candace added. Every single one of us had moments when we knew something was wrong. We just didn't listen. She was right. I'd had so many moments, Derek's phone buzzing at odd hours, his vague explanations about his schedule, the way his mother looked at me like I was temporary. My intuition had been screaming. I'd just been too desperate to be chosen to pay attention. We teach our daughters to be nice, Natasha said, rocking baby Justice. To give people the benefit of the doubt. To not make waves. Maybe we should teach them to trust their gut instead. To make waves when waves need making. That became our mission. Teaching women to recognize red flags. To trust their intuition. To speak up even when it's uncomfortable. We started a support group for women who'd experienced relationship fraud, meeting monthly at Mother Emanuel AME Church. The first meeting, I expected maybe 5 women. 40 showed up. 40 women with stories like ours. Different details, same pattern. Men who lied. Families who enabled. Systems that failed to protect, but we were changing that. One story at a time. One woman at a time. Dorothy framed the Post and Courier article and hung it in her office at the Grand Oak Hotel. "So I never forget," she said. "So I never go back to being silent." I learned something in those 6 months that I wish I'd known at 29, at the start of my relationship with Derek. Love shouldn't make you smaller. Love shouldn't ask you to ignore your instincts. Love shouldn't require you to explain away red flags or make excuses for bad behavior. Real love sees you. Believes you. Stands with you, and sometimes, the realest love comes from women you barely knew 6 months ago, women who became your sisters because you survived the same storm. 1 year after my wedding night, I returned to Magnolia Plantation. Not as a bride, but as a leader. 50 women gathered under the same trees where I'd said vows to a lie, and this time, I was teaching them how to recognize truth. After the meeting, I walked to the pond where Derek and I had taken engagement photos. I looked at my reflection in the still water. Older, wiser, unbroken. "You survived," I whispered to that reflection. And you're going to help others survive too. Behind me, Rebecca, Natasha, Candace, and Dorothy approached. My sisters. My chosen family. The women who taught me that the strongest love isn't romantic, it's the love women show each other when the world tries to break them. We stood there together, 5 women who'd been lied to, betrayed, dismissed. 5 women who refused to stay silent. 5 women who'd turned their pain into purpose, and looking at our reflections in that pond, I finally understood. The happy ending I'd been searching for was never about finding the right man, it was about finding myself. And finding my sisters along the way. If you've ever had your intuition tell you something wasn't right, drop a city name below. Let's build a map of women who trust their gut. Your story could save another sister. For more stories of women who chose truth over comfort, subscribe to Voices of Auntie Katie. We see you. We believe you. We stand with you.